Hi, and welcome to Home the Second Story. We're two architects sharing real conversations about custom home and renovation projects. I'm Marilyn Modinger of Runcible Studios, based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Boston, Massachusetts.
And I'm Sherry Scott with Springhouse Architects in Cincinnati, Ohio. And today we are joined by Craig Hyson and Nick Blessing. They are from Pella Windows and Doors of Cincinnati. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us. We're very excited to be on your show today.
Yeah, appreciate you having us.
Great. So this is a little bit different format for us. This is the first time we have interviewed industry partners, and we're excited to
Very
learn.
excited.
Yeah.
Very excited.
See what we can learn from you guys and share with our audience of people, considering doing a big renovation or new home project. So why don't you share first what you guys do, who you do it for, and what your experience is?
Absolutely. Sherry and Marilyn, thanks again for having us today. So I'm Craig Hyson. I'm the trade sales manager at the Cincinnati Pella branch. And then Nick Blessing is one of our trade representatives that works with Springhouse and several other builders across the tri-state area. And we're located over in Montgomery, in the heart of Montgomery, right there on Montgomery Road.
Yeah.
So we have an experience center over there. And we serve architects, developers, builders in the Cincinnati tri-state area.
And I think everyone's familiar with the Pella name, a high-end window brand. So we always ask all of our interviewees, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently? It kind of in hindsight after a big project. And I thought it would be interesting to talk to you guys about what would you tell homeowners that they should be thinking about before they start a project?
Great question. There's a lot of different capabilities that Pella has. So you kind of hit on it there at the beginning, Sherry. We are a high-end premium window manufacturer, but we also have a product in each price point, if you will. So we have a builder-grade vinyl all the way to a luxury thermally broken aluminum product and everywhere in between. Pella is known for their aluminum-clad wood series window, our lifestyle and reserve series wood windows. But if I had to give advice to a homeowner that may be starting their custom build journey and they don't know a ton about windows, or maybe they haven't even heard about Pella, is just to really, one, vet the manufacturer, but two, vet the installer, right? Who's actually going to be installing that product in your custom home or in your large renovation that you're doing on your home, because that installation is just as important, if not more important, than the window itself.
That's a great point, because it doesn't matter how great the product is, if the person putting it in misunderstands it or does the wrong detail, like a window flashing detail or something like that, does it wrong, then it doesn't matter how good the product is. So that's a great point.
So who installs your products? Does Pella ever install? Is it always a framer? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So, that's where, I think we kind of differentiate ourselves in the market. Not only do we manufacture, high-end quality windows, but we kind of say that we own the opening, per se, which is a good ease of mind for a lot of, of our clients. They come to us and, they're just looking for a solution. Like, here, you take this off my plate, tell me what I need to do to an extent. Will this fit my design and whatnot? So not only, again, do we manufacture, but we're also able to provide installation and then service as well. So you're dealing with one person, one team here locally. We've got over 70 employees that do nothing but Pella windows every day. So, if something's going on, you've got a leak or something's not working right, if it, we can usually get service or, get it handled, readily, quickly compared to a lot of other places.
As an architect, we design the home. We usually work with you guys on windows kind of through the contractor or the builder. When do you work with homeowners directly?
We work with homeowners every day. So, some of our builders, they tell their homeowners, hey, if you're building with, XYZ homes, you're going to use these brands, right? Or some builders leave it up to the homeowner. So we have the Experience Center in Montgomery, which we have homeowners in every day. That's really one of the fun parts about our job is getting with those homeowners that are building their dream home, right? Most people in their life don't have the opportunity to build a custom home. So to sit down with the homeowners and see all the hard work and the journey it's taken them to be able to be in this position in their life to be able to build a custom home is quite enjoyable. And we get to work on that design aspect with them. So homeowners all the time are in the showroom picking the different features, right? People typically know about countertops, flooring. Windows are one of those things that they might not know as much about.
And windows are also something that unlike countertops and flooring, some of the other things you just mentioned, impact the inside and the outside. So it really is something, and doors, same thing. It's one of the few materials or few items in a house where you have to think about, what am I doing the exterior aesthetically and functionally? What am I doing on the interior aesthetically and functionally? So can you talk a little bit about that? Like, how do you help people think about the priorities of what matters interior, exterior? Like that's, that unique quality of windows.
I mean, what I would say, I mean, I think something that is huge that I see a lot is some people just think windows are windows, they don't really
Mm,
understand, the difference between they look at a window and say, oh, that's a window. They don't understand them like we do or you guys do that, have seen them in the field and, seen bad windows or good windows and whatnot. So I think that a lot of homeowners underplay the importance of going with a quality window and ensuring that, you're putting people we're dealing with is building their forever home, like that's one
yep.
of the first questions I ask, is this your forever home? And a lot of people go, well, yeah, I don't plan on moving again. Well,
Mhm.
hey, these windows will last 30 to 50 years. Yeah, I can get you into a vinyl product, but you're not going to get the longevity out of that product. Spend your money wisely and buy a quality window up front because those are not easily replaceable. And that's all part of that building envelope. Like you spoke earlier about flashing, the importance of having that window flashed in properly into the home's envelope. Replacing those windows down the road is going to be a lot higher cost. And it's not going to be sealed quite the same in the envelope typically, especially in a brick application. So spend that money up front on a good quality window to ensure that, your home is covered and sheltered. And then maybe save some money on the finishes, the paint, the fixtures, some of that stuff that's more easily replaceable down the road.
What makes a good quality window? Like if I'm just stopping in your showroom because my builder sent me, and I assume I'll come in with my plans, right? And I know what size windows I need and the design is done. What features at that point am I choosing among?
Like I said, I mean, it's really just a rash of questions to kind of find out, find out what the buyer is looking for. Like, what are they
Yeah.
looking to get out of that window? Some people, a lot of times, if it's new construction, it's a little harder to go down the energy efficiency and a different glass coating route. But if it's somebody that like replacing windows, like a renovation, you can discuss with them like, hey, is there a side of the house that gets hit by a lot of sunlight? Maybe we can do sun defense glass.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of peeling back the layers from the customer to understand what they're looking to get out of that window, I think is a huge thing to start with. And then we start talking about glass and we start talking about warranties and service. And again, that's where I think we kind of differentiate ourselves is, hey, I can get you into a vinyl window. It's not going to have the warranty for say that a wood-clad product's going to have, but if you plan on being here for a while, Pella offers a lifetime warranty against wood rot and glass seal failure. You get the 2-year service warranty. It's just you get a peace of mind. When you buy, get into that wood clad product as well as the vinyl as well. But you're getting a better warranty, and that really just comes down to how that window is manufactured. Pella's got over 150 patents that Pella corporate has. So we're always that's one of the big things I do like about Pella is we're always innovating, looking for ways to come out with not only better products, stuff new to the market, but how do we make our stuff better? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you ever made it out to our design lab, I know, I think Kevin, one of your
Yeah, Kevin
employees,
just went. Yeah.
went and just to be in Pella is one thing, just the culture and, the Pella history of Pella, in itself, but being able to see the design lab and, seeing products in there that are closing and shutting, 100 times in 2 weeks, or a day in 2 weeks to show you, how long that window is going to last or that door is going to last.
Can regular homeowners go to that?
Not something that homeowners typically get to go to. It
Okay.
is, usually pretty exclusive trip for our
Yeah.
building partners on that side of it. But, it's just, and that's where we kind of rely a lot on, industry partners like yourself.
But you guys have the showroom where people can go and actually open and close windows. Do you have your whole range there at the showroom?
We do. We have our whole product portfolio there in Montgomery. So homeowners, similar to like Kevin Bensman did with you all and saw the behind the scenes, that's kind of the homeowners version of behind the scenes and their experience with the product before they, ultimately select it and then install it in their home. They can come and close and open and work through all the features of the product, get hands-on with it, and see how it's going to operate in their application.
When a homeowner comes into the showroom, what are some of the things, or if they go anywhere to any showroom, let's say they're shopping for windows, they're trying to figure that out, and they're opening and closing windows at your showroom or someone else's or whatever, they're trying stuff, they're looking around. What are some things that you would advise a homeowner to look for or to feel as they're opening and closing windows? Like what, or doors too. We've been mostly talking about windows, but there's also doors. What are some of the things that you would advise a homeowner to really pay attention to when they're testing out and looking at windows?
Right. So in terms of specifically testing them out in a showroom setting, one, talk about the materials with that manufacturer, whether it's your sales rep or if that design center has a design consultant, talk about the materials that go into that product, right? What separates one manufacturer from the other? Because we all manufacture differently. So I would definitely start there. And then again, back to my original point, talk about the installation, right? Because you could have the best product in the world. But if that's not installed properly, it's as good as $100 window at a big box store, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
That's the biggest key. And then all of us will have our different features, right, that are great in terms of colors, grill patterns, glass options there. So we have all of those options. And that's one thing that separates Pella is we do have a experience center where you can see all of that. Not every manufacturer does have a showroom.
No, and I definitely like it best when my clients have a chance to go to a showroom and fiddle with everything and see things in person.
Yeah.
Especially with something like windows, Nick, to your point earlier about, you're installing these things, you don't want to redo it in 5 years, or the first time you move in your home and you open the window and you're like, oh, I don't like how this feels, like that would be a bad day. So testing it out is important.
And I think that's why it's important. A lot of times I try to get the homeowner, encourage my building partners to get the homeowner in the showroom before we order any product. Like let's bring them in, let's walk through the floor plan, let's walk through each window, and then let's go out into the showroom and the experience center and show you and a lot of times, people are like, oh, I'm so glad I came in because that I would not have been happy with that. Just for them to see and touch and kind of understand what they're getting, I think is just a huge peace of mind, not only for me, but for the building partners and the homeowners as well.
Yeah, well, peace of mind for you. You don't want to sell someone a bunch of windows that they're going to be unhappy with. Like nobody wants that.
It's not a fun phone call to get. So.
No, it's not. And also some of those features I know, and maybe you guys can talk to this a little bit, but I've experienced this with clients where they think they want certain features where they're looking in a catalog or online, and then they go and test it and they're like, no, I actually don't want that. But then they see another feature that they're like, oh, this. So seeing everything in person or seeing the materials, understanding how things actually work, because there are a ton of different features and everyone's different. Some people might be okay with grills between the glass. And I've certainly had clients who said, yeah, we like that. It's a more cost-effective option. And I say, I just want you to go and take a look. And then they go and they say, no, I want full SDLs with the little, simulated divided lights. Like they want, or vice versa, right? So maybe, do you have any situations where something like that happened or a story or, I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit, but do you feel like, there was a situation where maybe that happened or something like that in your experience?
I would say it happens every day. I mean, every time
every day.
We want to set clear expectations, and that grill pattern or the grill style is a huge thing. Because like you said, grills between the glass are a cost-effective option. So when people are looking at paper and crunching numbers, that looks better. But when you get them into the showroom and show them those grids, and just say, hey, with those grids between the glass, you're going to lose the kind of kind of
Yeah,
lose
the
that
depth.
glare based
Yeah.
on the glare from the glass. If you want more distinctive, here's the SDL. But hey, they're quite a bit cost, more because it's more labor intensive.
Yeah.
So I think that is a great example. Definitely on the grills.
The other one that I've learned over the years is important for people to see are the screen options. Because the ones where you can see through them easier, people are like, what's the big deal? And then they go see it in the showroom. They see the one that I don't remember the names of the different ones, but the ones that's like less see-through and the one that's more see-through.
Right.
um,
Right. Well, I'm glad you brought up screen options, Marilyn, because that's actually how Pella started. So a guy by the
I
name of
didn't know that.
Pete Kuiper back in 1925 invested in a company called the Roll Screen Company. And that's actually how Pella came to be. So in early 1990s, it changed from the Roll Screen Company to the Pella Corporation. So at first it was just a screen company, and then Pete Kuiper decided to start manufacturing his own windows for those screens to go into. So some of the things that Pella is known for, innovation around screens is one of the biggest. So today we still have screen innovations coming out as we speak. So recently we've had our hidden screen come in our vinyl product and our lifestyle product, and then we've always had our roll screen options in our aluminum clad wood series window as well in our reserve series.
Those are fun. Those are really fun.
They're pretty neat. They're pretty neat. I can tell you, I put my screens all back in recently this spring, and I
Yes.
wish I had the hidden.
You wish you had them.
Jumping back to budget. So when we design a house for a client, and not that it's ever happened in my office, but I've heard some things do not come in to budget, right? And so we're
Sherry.
immediately like, what pieces can we touch that would make a significant impact, but not change my beautiful design at all? And if windows are on the table, what are the pieces we're looking at that could affect a budget without changing the size of windows?
Right. One of the things you just hit on, Sherry and Marilyn, was the grills. So if we get into that situation you just described, and let's say we're in our wood series window, maybe we do SDL grids just on the front of that house, and we
Okay.
remove the grill patterns on the rest of the house.
Yeah.
That's a quick way to save a little bit of money and not change too much of the window size or aesthetic on the front elevation of your home. So that's one quick way we, if we get into that situation, we look into the grill pattern.
And what about changing, I don't know what you call it, like series? What if we have the higher series wood-clad windows? Is there like a step-down process we can go through?
There is a lot of times. I mean, depending on your design, we've got like our lifestyle series. I mean, to be specific, you've got our lifestyle series and our reserve series. So, if you were building this house and everything had to be in reserve series because maybe a certain color or maybe, there's a window on the house to where we can only get that in reserve. We run into quite a few different instances, but a
Yeah.
lot of times, that is a good, rebuttal. And a lot of times I'll do a quote and then like put that number on your quote and say, hey, if you're open to switching series or maybe tweaking this one line or going to this color, you can save, 30% or whatever, that difference is. And then that gives you that in your back pocket to when, you're having those budget conversations,
It's nice to have options. I think also one thing that we do controversially when it comes to windows, so get ready for my hot take, is a lot of times I notice that homeowners think they need more glass than they do. And it's not that I would rather see them spend money on better windows and fewer of them rather than tons and tons and tons of windows that may not actually be getting the effect that they think it's going to get. So being smart about window placement and not just glass everywhere, people kind of tend to just do that. And it's one thing if you've got big views or whatever, like there's certain things to take into account. But I think sometimes it's possible for projects to be over windowed. And so sometimes it's nice to just pull back and say, instead of quantity, we're going to think about quality, and we're going to think about being strategic with where we do our wall of glass towards the view. But then in other spaces, we're going to be a little bit more careful. So do you guys get into, when you're working directly with homeowners, are you getting into any of those sorts of design questions? Are they asking you, oh, should I do this size versus that size? Or, how does that work when a homeowner is coming to you and they don't have a designer with them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something we kind of see every day, really. I mean, when you're meeting with a homeowner or sitting down, going through that floor plan, going window by window, one of the big questions is sometimes you just got to tell people, imagine yourself sitting in this room, living, you're the one that's got to live with this product every day. Is this what you want? Is this what, now, and then same thing with size, we always bring up size a lot of times because, on a piece of paper or the drawing, the plan, it don't look that big, but, when you start, showing them stuff for scale in the experience center, they go, wow, yeah, maybe I don't need that big of a window, maybe I was overthinking it. So definitely something we see quite often.
All right, I'm going to go on record and say I'm very uncomfortable with this conversation. I love all the glass, the huge windows, and do not make my windows any smaller because I'm going to be very upset.
That's why I said it was a hot take, because I know how you feel.
Yes, very, very hot take. We have different opinions on that.
Well, it's not necessarily coming from an opinion of mine. We work in tight urban conditions in existing historic homes. So I can't blow whole things out. The view is 5 feet away to a neighbor's blank wall. Right. So when we are talking windows, we have to be surgical with how we put in windows. Sometimes we can't even move a single window or change a window by an inch because of zoning requirements. So if I were working on the sites that you're working on, Sherry, I would be talking about things differently, potentially. And I think that's a good point, right? Like, how you talk about which window product, how you talk about what kinds of windows depends a lot on the project that you're doing.
Yeah, and talking about which levers you can pull to make it a little less expensive. Like on one house, it may make sense to make less windows or smaller windows, and on another house, it might make sense to change the level of window you have so that you still have all the glass.
That's right.
I have 2 questions. Still on budget. How much of a difference does it make to be in standard sizes, the sizes that are in your catalog? And how much of a budget difference is a fixed window versus an operable window?
Good questions.
I mean, I would say difference in price from a standard to a custom. I mean, you're usually a couple % difference. I mean, a couple $100 a window typically on our side of the business.
Okay, so not as big as...
So not crazy.
But then it also depends that if the custom size that you want is outside of the limitations of that.
Good point.
Well, so, for instance, like you get into our lifestyle series, the max casement's 73 inches, but you got to draw them for a 7 foot. Well, we'd have to go to reserve. So then now you're talking, 40% more. So, just kind of where it depends on where those sizes or what that you've got on the plan where, calls for.
Yeah. And I know we've gone through those sizes many times on our projects as we're designing them and planning them. Like, what is my limit before it jumps that 40%? Because we want to be careful while we're designing.
Well, and the other part of that, too, and this comes from back in my days of being a builder, is if I got a window package from an architect and I would go and sit with my Pella rep or whoever, and sit there with the drawings from the architect, and it was literally like every single window was 2 inches difference from each other. So I have 30 different window types and 35 windows. And I'm like, oh, come on. So like, is it really that much of a cost difference? Not really, but in terms of, pain in the ass factor, it's very high because now I, as the builder, am having to keep track of 30 different window types that are slightly different from each other.
Yeah.
So I think that's where working with someone, like as architect or homeowner, working with your window rep to make sure that you're like being smart about, let's do custom here because this is a really important moment. We're going to do that. But let's stay with like 4 or 5 window types throughout. Like, can we do that?
And while we're on that budget conversation, there's certain things that we can do in one room that we don't necessarily have to take through the rest of the home. So from a hardware perspective, or say, one of the innovations Pella is known for is our blinds between the glass. Say you wanted to do that maybe in your family room and your master bedroom, and not carry that through the rest of the house. That's totally doable when you go with Pella. So we could do that upgraded hardware in certain rooms and our standard hardware and others to kind of be cost conscious on where we're spending our money.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Also, what's fun is the door situation. So patio doors, front doors, all that kind of stuff. How do you talk to homeowners? Like, what do you wish they understood about things like patio doors, or, what mistakes do you see homeowners making? You're like, I wish they would understand this better about how doors work.
Yeah, homeowners now, they're no longer really buying just a sliding patio door. You're basically buying an extension of your living space now.
Yeah.
As you guys
Interesting.
see,
Yeah.
the inside out, outside in, it's all blending into one, living area. So what we're seeing on our side now, and working in conjunction with architects like you, is just larger doors, wider,
Yeah.
taller.
Yeah.
That great room wall and window is still out there. But what we're seeing a lot now is, multi-slide pocketing doors or bifold doors that really open up the whole back of a home. Transom windows above doors are kind of going away a little bit, and doors are going taller. So that's some of the things that we're seeing on our end, right? You're trying to get that glass in the right spaces, Marilyn,
Mm-hmm.
you were talking about before, and we're getting as much glass as possible in those doors.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I would say that goes with what I'm seeing too. We're doing many more sort of full size, like 8-foot doors instead of a 6'8" with a transom, or for example, we're doing much more of that. So Sherry's familiar with me bringing this up, but in Massachusetts, where I do a lot of my work, energy codes are a really big deal. So windows that we can and can't do are different than in other parts of the country. So can you guys talk a little bit about some of the things that someone who's particularly conscious about energy efficiency might be thinking about, or if they're in Massachusetts, they have to think about? What are some of the things that, around energy efficiency?
I mean, glass is a huge thing, obviously.
Mm.
To me, that's kind of the next phase of where this industry is going to kind of go is more efficiency within glass. We've been seeing a lot more stuff about the click glass or electrochromatic glass, where you flip a switch and all of a sudden now your glass goes opaque or blacked out. So to me, that is something that is I foresee that being the next big thing within our industry. I mean, once it gets to a point where it's more cost effective and not crazy price the way it is now. To me, that how do you get a more efficient window than having it obscured or blacked out? You're really cutting down on that sunlight that's traveling through the glass at that point. As well as Pella's got a handful of different glass options, for all around the U.S. Really, I mean, we've got natural sun low E glass that most people here, in our regions probably typically don't hear, but that allows the sunlight to come in and helps heat the house or heat the home. But then it don't allow the heat to escape from the glass because that coating's on the inside. We've got our sun defense glass coatings where it's a little darker tint of that that bluish hue that's really going to cut down on that sunlight. We pretty much got glass coatings to meet Energy Star ratings in all 50 states. So just really depends on how efficient they want that window.
Yeah, yeah.
We go by that solar heat gain and the U factor, and that's what we typically point out to a lot of homeowners. And how efficient you want to get it. The lower that number, the better it is. So it's up to you. I mean, we can only get it so low, but then you start getting into triple pane glass and glazing. Just how far do they want to push the envelope?
Do you have a way to help them figure out the ROI? Like at what's the break point where, if they're looking to save money, not just save energy, if they're looking to save money on their bills, do you have a way for them to figure that out on the back of a napkin?
You can always give a ballpark, but there's a lot of factors that go into that number, right? The overall building envelope, what type of insulation's in the walls, what type of
Mhm.
roof do they have? There's just so many factors other than the window. So we always like to give a range, but there's never a certain number, you can really give a homeowner, because there are so many factors in that and what drive that, what that number is for your energy costs.
Makes
Yeah, and
sense.
I'm always saying about ROI that nobody asks anyone to calculate the ROI of certain, like, of aesthetic things. They only
Right,
ask it
right.
of quote unquote energy efficiency things, but no one's
Yes.
like, what's the ROI of your fancy cabinets versus your stock cabinets? Like, nobody says that. So when we're talking about quote unquote upgrades around energy efficiency, people are asking like tougher questions that they aren't asking about aesthetic things, which I think is a little unfair. So, and because you're right, Craig, it's about a whole system that comes together. And back to your point about installation, a lot of, like, if you misinstall a window, then you're just, it's leaking and it's all over the place, and so leaking air and potentially water too. So that makes a big difference too. Windows are part of the whole system.
And I think part of it too, I mean, you get into like sound control, some people
Yes,
are,
that's
living by
important.
an interstate or whatnot. You get into
Yep.
sound control and STC
Mhm.
ratings and OITC ratings and all that. And a lot of times you got to look at the people and say, I can get you the most soundproof window, but if you don't do nothing with the wall,
Yep.
then, what's the window going to make a difference?
Yeah. It's like wearing your winter coat, but like leaving it unzipped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm curious. We usually ask our homeowner interview guests about what they love most about their projects. I'm wondering if you guys would be able to answer maybe a project that you worked on or something that you saw that you just thought, wow, they really used this product in a beautiful way, or they really did this really well, or this was really cool how they did that. Could you share a really cool install or really cool project that you saw?
Yeah, there's actually one recently that we just wrapped up, and I'll leave the builder and customer name out of it for the sake of this conversation. But we did a automated awning window as kind of a pass-through window, so a
Nice.
real wow factor.
Yeah.
And it actually wasn't in the home where you think it would be. Right, it was actually in the basement, kind of into a basketball court. So they wanted to be kind of in their bar area of their basement, press a button, yell down to the kids playing basketball in the basement, and then close the window. So we don't do a ton of automated awning windows. That was one of our first projects in that application, but it turned out great and is really a conversation piece when you have the family over for the holidays and you press a button and open an awning window to a basketball court. So that was pretty unique. A couple other things that we've been working on recently. One of my favorite products that we offer is our multi-slide pocketing doors. So
Those are so cool.
They
as
are.
these homes have, the whole back is now a door. Is one of the new design trends. It's really cool to be able to slide that door into that wall and really open up that whole patio. So anytime I see an architect draw a plan like that, it gets me excited to see that in the field because that is one of my favorite features that we're seeing in new homes today.
Yeah, those are fun. Even in Ohio, when they might open it 3 times a year, that's totally worth it. Yeah.
Nick, how about you?
I mean, I would pretty much add to that. I mean, the multi-slide doors are, really cool. I've got a specific builder. Again, we'll leave the name out, but, they've got a development overlooking the city of Cincinnati.
Mhm.
We've got a big 32-foot by 10-foot stacking. It's a 6-panel stacking door. That 3 panels go each way and fold back into the wall and overlooks the whole city. I mean, it's just really cool to see a product like that and, being used for what it was intended for, to open up that space, allow the outside in and inside out, and to have a beautiful, backdrop in the back is just, awesome.
That's great. Thanks, guys. We love using Pella windows. This is not a commercial for Pella, but we do use Pella a lot. And we like working with
Appreciate
you
it.
guys. You always are eager to help. A lot of times we, try to do things in design that are not necessarily standard. So we're jumping through some hoops. And you guys are always more than willing to talk us through it and try to figure out the best design. So we really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and we appreciate the kind words and the partnership. And,
Yeah.
and while we're on that topic of kind of pushing the envelope and sizes and how big things can go, Pella did acquire a window manufacturer that gave us access to large thermally broken aluminum product. So it's aluminum inside and out.
Yeah, we're very excited about that.
We can really stretch the limits of glass and sizes, and For instance, on a casement, we can go up as wide as a 4 foot wide and as tall as 10 foot on a casement now. And
A
that
casement
vista
window.
series.
That's
Wow.
bigger than a door. That's
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was a
amazing.
door the first time I saw it.
That's
It's that big.
I love that.
So we're
It
excited
reminds
about
me
that
of
vista series.
at Monticello, Benjamin Franklin, right? Is that who was Monticello?
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson. I knew you would know, Marilyn, my history
Yes,
person. I'm
UVA
terrible at
grad.
history. Anyway, I remember being there the very first time, and they have the huge double hung windows that
Triple
pull
hung.
up from the floor. Are they triple?
They're triple hung. I call them Thomas Jefferson's triple hung party windows because you pull them all the way up and you can walk out.
Walk out. It's just
Mhm.
it's amazing, and we think we're so innovative these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he
But
loved
anyway,
the
so
party.
that reminds me, we're getting closer to where we were in the 1800s. When was that, Marilyn?
Early 1800s.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, on that note, it's fun to design with windows and to come up with new configurations and the stuff that you guys are doing to advance that is pretty exciting. Okay, so thanks you guys for being here. We really appreciate the conversation, and hopefully this helped some homeowners that are considering a project to just to have some more information in their back pocket when they go shopping for windows, whether they are led by an architect or a builder, or if they're on their own doing a production build or something like that. That I think it's very helpful and empowering to give people their options.
So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, that was a fun new format to try.
It's really fun to bring that kind of knowledge to our audience straight
Right.
from some industry folks.
Yeah. And I've never really sat down and thought through what our clients might ask when they go into a showroom, by
Yeah.
themselves, if we're not
Yeah.
with them and just kind of dictating what we think they should have. I think it's great knowledge for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really appreciated how one of the first things that they were talking about was the importance of the install.
I know that I was not expecting that.
Yeah. I love that
Yeah.
point because it's
Yeah.
not just about like our product is the best, is the best, is the best. It's like, well, it doesn't even matter how good the product is if you're not stewarding it well through construction,
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was a really important point. And the install, of course, is the builder, but it's also the architect and the designer doing those details correctly.
Yeah.
How many times have I seen windows flashed improperly? Like
Correct.
all the time. I'll just be driving down the street. I'll see windows going in and I'm like, that's literally backwards. And I want to
Yes.
stop and
Yes.
tell them.
Like
but
you're
then I don't wanna get
pooling the
involved.
water. You're not getting
Yes,
the water.
You're collecting water.
You're collecting
You're
it.
not
Yes,
shedding
we
water.
do not do that. Yeah, I think that was good. And their little saying that they own the opening. Yeah, I hadn't heard that before. That's good.
Yeah, that was cool. I'm really glad that they emphasized the importance of coming to they call it the experience center, or the
Mhm.
showroom, and trying stuff out, getting your hands on things, trying things, and all that is really important. Windows, even though there's a wide range of costs, the sky's the limit as far as what you can spend on windows. But no matter what, they're not cheap. It's not a cheap part of the house. So you want to make sure that you're making good decisions. You want to make sure you really like them. And
Right.
that they're working well.
Right.
So going to test them out and make sure you're seeing things in person, the finishes and whatnot, is crucial.
Yeah. And the energy efficiency conversation, I like how they answered that. There are so many levers you can push and pull, but the actual calculation of that, which I asked because I get asked that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, if I spend money on the upgraded glass, meaning, the coating or the number
Right.
of plies, when do I get paid back? Well, I'm just glad to be reassured that it depends. That's the answer. It depends on so many things. It's not wasted money, in my opinion, to do those things, is my bottom line.
Not at all. It's funny because I haven't heard that question in 10 years. It's just
Yeah.
not a question. And I
Yeah.
think part of it is I'm working in co-jurisdictions where
Right.
there's no choice.
Right. And our clients still have the choice to do code minimum, and our code minimum is less than your code minimum. So
Yeah, for sure. But I also think it's, what people prioritize, like, and that's why I always am on my soapbox about aesthetic materials, is like, well, it feels like a little bit of a funny question, but at the same time, it's important. It doesn't matter if it feels funny to us or if it isn't the right question, quote unquote.
Mhm.
It's the question that a homeowner has. So
Right.
we need to be ready to talk through that and help people understand, like, yes, that question's coming from a good place. And also, let's talk about that. Let's be a little bit more mindful about the questions we should be asking. Because if they're talking about what the payback is on a low-E coating, it's a few $100s. Like, good Lord, over the course of a whole project. Like, let's instead talk about the flashing details or some of these other things that have a way bigger impact. But the thing is, those can't be seen. Those can't be understood as
Right.
easily by homeowners. And I think,
Yeah.
these guys did a really good job of kind of balancing these technical questions that maybe homeowners don't know to ask with the things that homeowners do know to ask and how to guide them through those things. So it's not straightforward.
And the fun part, talking about the design, all the new, just everything, every manufacturer is getting bigger and wider and multi-slide and pocketed away. All of that stuff is very exciting for me
They're
as
so
a
fun.
designer. It's so fun.
Yes.
They had a good way to say it, the extension of living space. That's everything these days.
Yep. And even, larger doors, not just drawing 6'8" doors, like 6'8" doors, which is the sort of the standard. Let's play with that. Let's try some things. We have higher ceilings, so we can do something. Let's, I think we spent many years of our professions sort of dealing with a lot fewer options. And now there's a lot more options that we can play with. And I loved that you asked the question about the difference in cost between a standard size and a custom size.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that was like drilled into my head.
Yeah, mine
coming
too.
up through the ranks is like, use standard sizes. And that's not wrong.
It's not wrong. There's still money to save.
There's money to save.
But it's maybe not as important as we used to think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe actually, if we would go back in time and ask 15 or 20 years ago, standard sizes were a lot more expensive than they are now.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I liked this conversation and I hope it was helpful to our listeners. I think it was.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking behind the scenes, so we'll pull the curtain back for our listeners for a second. But we've been talking behind the scenes about having more industry professionals on to kind of give that honest advice and feedback from their perspective. I mean, how many times did these guys say today, we see this every day? I'm asking them questions. I'm like, can you think of a story? And they're like, yeah, it just happened 3 times this morning. So to me, I think that was a good reminder to me too. They see way more homeowners through the door than either of us do.
Yep.
And they're hearing these conversations over and over and over. And I think that's why, to our listeners, that's why we're hoping to have more folks on who can give insight into specific areas of the industry for homeowners to get that inside scoop.
Yeah. And I think what I am taking away from today for my own practice is to encourage my clients to really go to the showrooms, because in the past, to be honest, between me and the builder, we would pick the window and just say, this is the window. This is the best choice. But I think people should go and ask all those questions themselves.
I agree. And no matter what we pick, and I know I said this kind of to some effect earlier, but no matter what we choose from the catalog or from the website, if they go to the showroom, it changes. Because maybe not drastically, they might be in the same line or they're still thinking wood windows or whatever. But, some of those little changes and some of the features change because they're seeing it in person.
And it's the details. It's the details we're all interested in.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us on Home, the Second Story. If you'd like to come on the show and share your story, email us at admin@htsspodcast.com. We'd love to have you as a guest, including industry professionals if you're listening. Be sure to rate and subscribe wherever you get podcasts and follow us on Instagram. We will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Home, the Second Story podcast. Feel free to share this episode with a friend. Contact information for both of our architects are in our show notes. And don't miss future episodes. Follow or subscribe to our show for free in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening right now.